Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Market getting a little rally here. It looks like we kind of put in a double bottom there yesterday. Joel, is that 1482 level going to hold?
Hey, you gotta, the way this market's been, sell off, make a bottom, just everything's a buying opportunity. So there's your major support there at the 1482 level. We'll see if Big Bad Ben can do anything to change that scenario. Looking at the pre-market activity, topped out here at 1497, bumping up against yesterday's high, 1497.75. I'm excited today. We have great levels on the upside and the downside.
1482 and 1497, those are the levels you're using?
Those are the levels. Yep.
Those are the levels. Want to see a stock that's moving this morning? Target has been flying. Bring up the pre-market chart on this one. Reported earnings this morning. They beat
Whoa.
a buck 65 against estimates of a buck 48. It looked like they increased guidance too. $1.10 versus $1.20. Estimates were down at $1.05 for next quarter. The stock popped up to 66 and change. Just a few hundred shares
Ow.
trading up there. Traded quite a bit of stock at 65.50. This has turned around and this is starting to sell off hard now. It is now down over $1 after being up over 2.
Target, the French retailer, is doing very well, or was doing very well. Hit 66.29 to pre-market. Someone put on the brakes there. Took it all the way down to 62.38. Could be a spike bottom there, though. We'll have to keep an eye on that 62.38 level. Let's go out to the dailies to get a true perspective on this stock here. Blew away the former high, yesterday's high. It's pulled back. Boy, Dennis, you're going to have to help me with support in
Dude,
this
this one's
one.
a
I
hard
guess,
one. Hard one to
yeah.
figure out here. This has obviously been on a march. It's been marching since the beginning of the year when it was down in the 59 handle. Got up close to 64.05 yesterday. I don't even think you're going to sniff up there near those highs that we made in the pre-market. That's just an overshoot on the upside to start with, and then obviously they've turned around and just decided to crush the stock now. It's funny. You can beat on the earnings. Sometimes you can beat on the revenue, and then sometimes they just find stuff they don't like with the report, and all of a sudden, boom, they knock it down, and that's what's just happening here in the pre-market.
Right. 62.38 low in the pre-market. We did have a low at 62.52 4 days ago. And Kevin, with that good eye there, points out the double bottom at 61.44 to 61.62. So if you're not happy covering your short at 62.50, probably a little paper at 62, and then that 61.50 looks like the next level.
Got another retailer that reported as well. Dollar Tree, DLTR, reported earnings. The stock's actually moving up quite higher on this, $1.01 versus 99 cents. So they beat. It kind of had a slow
Woohoo!
start, but it is starting to pick up momentum now. Closed 41.08. It just ticked the highs up there. It's 43.49. It just ticked to. Now trading 43 and a quarter.
Well, they definitely like the numbers there. The only reference point I can give you on the upside is
You're
43.49.
gonna love this
Uh,
daily or this weekly
yeah,
chart.
I'm gonna look at. Oh,
Go farther out.
look
Go
at it.
farther out. Kids,
Of
you're going to love it if you
course.
see the monthlies here. Look at the
Uh,
42 and the breakout we're having here.
Geez. It's funny because we get several custom level analysis on this stock. People just sending in wanting a longer term outlook on the stock, and I remember looking at it and it was trading at like 38, 39, and I was like, at the point, of course, you don't have all this activity, and I said, well, if you're a bottom picker, you have a reference point here under 38. It did hold in there. I hope that that member of pre-market info is still holding on to this Dollar Tree. The breakout above 42
42 is
got a lot of
huge.
air in this. Yeah, if it comes back to 42, you got to use that as support.
Yeah,
But
that's your classic level. This 42, we topped out there. A little bit cut through it in November. We had multiple highs in November there. We had multiple highs here in February, 2, 3 times. It's played up here at the 42 level. It is cutting through it in the pre-market. That's your bogey. That's your swing number. If this thing pulls back, I do think you may find some support there this time around. And you're starting to get into a vacuum area. Back in October, I'm just going to go get the date for you. On October 10th, we were trading up at, or October 11th, I'm sorry, we traded as high as 47.46, and I don't know what happened that day. We turned around and sold off and got down as low as 42.51. We had a 5 point range that day back in October. So now you're coming back and you're getting into that vacuum area where we moved through that area very quickly. So Dollar Tree looking bullish here this morning. Priceline PCLN reported last night they beat 677 versus 654. Stock trading up almost 30 points here in the pre-market. It's a nice lift for Priceline 708. I'm gonna if you go out to the dailies here, you're gonna find this number pretty quick.
What did they do? Bring William Shatner back or something?
Well, I love William Shatner. He's awesome. Priceline negotiator. 708. Look at those. Look at those highs, Joel. I know you're going to point those out. I'll leave those. I'll leave
Yeah.
that for you. I'll throw in that fastball there for you. You can crank it out on that 708 number.
Oh, we had multiple tops at 707.99 and 708 not too long ago here, back in the middle of February. But you got to keep an eye. We have got through that in the pre-market. We've spiked even higher than that.
Slightly
718.99 is where we got to. But keep an eye on that 708 level. It will be a good swing number. Of course, it gets above that. You did have after that crazy high, you had another high at 710.99. So keep an eye on 708, 710.99. If it takes out 708, I don't think that will be great if you're long.
First Solar, oh, and you knew eventually it was going to start to come down from its run, and it's done it relatively quickly. The dogs aren't barking anymore. We were talking about it last year that the dogs were barking, they were all moving higher. The dogs have stopped barking and they're yelping now because here's First Solar. It's down $4.50. Their earnings were good this quarter, 204 versus $1.76, but they guided lower for next quarter, only seeing 70 to 90 cents. Estimates were up at 94. They didn't want to hear anything bad about this stock, and they are absolutely beating it to a pulp here this morning, trading down $4.50 at 26.88.
Not a bright outlook for the stock for the full year, huh? Boy, what really gets me about this is, boy, look at the last 5 days of trading going ahead into this. Either someone wanted to hell out before earnings, or someone got the memo or whatever, because look at that thing just got shellacked after trading up to 36.98.
Put a
Hit
double top up
31.08
there
yesterday.
Kaboom.
Yeah, double top and then boom. But let's take a look at the pre-market activity. Boy, if you're brave, I guess you could start to call this a rounding bottom here. Even though yeah,
You can
I've
call
seen,
that a rounding bottom. I
bottoms
call
than
it
that,
death.
but you call it death.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Let's look at 26.76. Just been the recent low here, so that will be one bogey number. Sometimes they tend to overshoot there, Dennis. The daily doesn't doing anything. The weekly, you did have a low here at 26.92, so you are finding some minor support. Underneath that, you got another drop down to the 24.41 level. But it's amazing when these stocks blow through these areas on the way up, they blow through them on the way down.
They really do. Coach, bring up a chart on Coach, COH, and bring up the after hours chart here too. This stock's flying here this morning, rumored to be exploring a sale, reported by the Deal Reporter. COH is the symbol on Coach.
They changed the symbol?
It's always been COH. Anyways, you can see last night, if you look at last night, this thing ticked up to $47 a couple times. I was looking at that and I was like, why is Coach trading up 50, 60 cents? And it was trading pretty, somebody just was picking up stock there. Now the news comes out and breaks. Deal Reporter saying that they're rumored to be exploring that sale. This stock absolutely flying now, taking off 49.22. Big move here for Coach.
Yeah, I mean, a rumor of a sale, you really can't step out on this. But Dennis got to give you the heads up on that. You were yelling at me, get the news on Coach. And I'm like, there's no news on Coach. And he said, look at the chart. And definitely there's news on Coach. Someone has a little bit better news service and got the news.
It wasn't out there. Somebody was jumping ahead of that because it wasn't broke until we were looking at it starting to fly up earlier on, even last night, like I was saying. And that news report did not come out until about 15 minutes ago. So either somebody knew about it ahead of time, or maybe it just wasn't published out there ahead of time. Like rumors are rumors. It's still just a rumor, but man, moving now.
Yeah, just hit. I mean, when there's rumors of a takeover, buyout, or something like that, you really got to be rumors. You got to be cautionary on both sides of the market, especially on the short side. 49.60 has been high in the pre-market. If someone's looking to take the stock out. They're looking to do it at a cheap price. Look, this stock is really falling off a cliff. Let's look at the major resistance. If we could plow through that 49.60 area, nice round number like 50.13, 50 even on February 4th was the high. After that, it gaps up after that. But, if you're playing this, keep an eye on your news.
Let's bring up Apple if you want to talk about rumors yesterday. Apple
Oh,
flying
yeah.
high yesterday. If you can bring up the intraday chart, can you bring up the intraday chart from yesterday when this thing started to take off? There you go. You can see the stock was basically settling into a little range, forming a little pennant there yesterday, around 438, 440. It started to lift up a little bit, and then Doug Cass actually on StockTwits broke a rumor that he had heard from one of his sources that Apple may potentially split the stock. Interesting that they would split the stock when it's going down. Usually you split the stock when it's going up. But regardless, the stock lifted another 8 points after that. And then Cass actually retracted the rumor later, saying he didn't think that it was a credible source because of something, looking at some footnotes or something, they'd have to vote on it. So he broke the rumor and then retracted it about an hour later. Regardless, the stock got a big lift from that rumor. It's kind of just kicking around here right now, 447. So I don't know if it's going to split the stock, or I don't even know if that makes sense. But news is eventually going to come out on Apple, something to do with their cash probably.
Yeah, you always be careful when you're tweeting stuff you're trading before you hit that send button. Always take a good look at it. But yeah, we did talk about this yesterday. That major support of 442 was taken out, but they couldn't break it down to this low here. This is still your bogey, 435.86.
Yep.
If you're trying to hold on to this thing, I think you got a good, well, now it's obviously $13, $14 away from there. But, it's excellent support. People were sneaking under that 440 level. We did get up to 450, 154 yesterday. So I'm only going to call these minor resistance points because if this thing takes off, through any of these previous days' highs, you don't know where it's going to stop. But I've noticed, I discussed this with you, Dennis, the last couple days, the intraday activity has been pretty determinative, at least early in the session. And it seems to be that we are topping out in the pre-market here right around the 449 level. So I'll use that as minor resistance.
Yeah, it could be some volatility with that annual shareholder meeting too. So it could be some intraday volatility in that one. Google getting an upgrade at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Raising the price target up to 920. I think it was down at 760. So that's why Google's lifting about $6 here in the pre-market, trading 796. We know we talked about a double, call it a triple top area, that 808. We've broken down since then. Is this one of those classic scenarios where it might give you an opportunity to dip above and gets above 800 again, give you another shot to sell it, or are we eventually going to take that top out?
I hit 798.79 in the pre-market. Looking at yesterday's activity, we got only up to 795.95.
Yeah, I'm broke down too.
Boy, I tell you, I'd use that as that. I'd use that 800 number just as a swing point. I mean, if it gets above there, it's only had one close above that level. If you're trying to protect profits, the 780 level looks huge. I would just try and put a sell stop in instead of trying to pick a top.
Let's look at a few stocks in the Big Ten because it's been a while since we have. We talked about ExxonMobil having a wild day yesterday. It actually put in a double bottom there again yesterday too. If you look at the day before, the low was 87. Trying to grab it here. Low before was 87.70 from the day before. Low yesterday was 87.76. We always highlight potential double tops and double bottoms because they can signal reversals, and you do have that from yesterday where it has that potential that it put in a double bottom.
Right, and that was backed up by the 13-day low at 87.61. So you do have monster support there. You're going to need a real crush in the S&Ps to get it below that level. Coming back on the upside. 88.98 was yesterday's high, so that's nice round number of 89 is going to be resistance. Could chop in there for another day or two before it makes a move.
Some of your financials followed through with their weakness yesterday. Bring up a chart on Citigroup. The stock actually made new lows, started to break down, but then they turned around and caught a bid. When Bernanke was talking, they were selling everything off, and then he stopped talking, and we started to rally again. Obviously, we tacked on about 10 points after he stopped talking in the afternoon. The financials led the way on the comeback, where Citigroup was down almost a dollar. Actually, it was down over a dollar, I guess, at 40 or 40.28 it got down to, and then turned around and started rallying, closing fairly strong. What do you think here? Are we going to?
I like these kind of moves. I like these kind of moves where you get a big rebound. Okay,
Yeah.
close kind of in the upper quadrant of the day. Looking at the pre-market, you hit 4150 in the pre-market. That coincides nicely with yesterday's high at 4150 to 4158. So I think you got a good play here. Similar to the S&Ps, you're bumping up against yesterday's high. You have either a low risk short here or a place to exit along.
Couple stocks reporting tonight we might as well focus on. JC Penney's going to report earnings after hours here. Stock actually the last few days has been lifting up. I'm always scared on this though. Like I said, I was in a JC Penney there last week. Store seemed dead to me, but I mean, I don't think these stores have really been popping for quite a few years, but there just wasn't a lot of people buying stuff in there. Not saying, that the stock can't beat on earnings here or anything, but it is concerning when you walk into a store and it seems like a ghost town. 21.02 is where it closes, trading up a dime right now at 21.14. What's your take on JC Penney?
Well, a couple spikes up to the $23 level.
A couple days ago.
Just great resistance there. We're quite a ways away from that level, so that's your major resistance. Minor resistance comes in at the 21.76 level. Look at this thing, of course, coming into earnings. It's always a coin toss. Looking at 20.08, that's your 4-day low. That's going to be your major support.
Something you got to consider, though, is that expectations are a lot lower for a company like JCPenney than they are for a Target. So when Target comes out and beats, they can actually beat the stock up. JCPenney comes out and beats, and nobody usually expects them to beat, and sometimes they'll rally it. It's all about sentiment a little bit, too. We have sold off, for the last day or two ahead of the earnings, too. So you like to look at that and say, well, maybe investors are a bit nervous, and if they report anything even half-assed good, maybe it'll spike up on it. The Limited LTD also reports tonight. Stock trading up 20 cents in the pre-market. Here's one that's been beat up over the last month. It was up at 48.5. It's made a bottom, trying to find a home there in the low or in the mid 42s, low 43s. Coming up here and starting to rally here a bit. What do you think?
Bumping up against some major resistance here. You've had 4 consecutive highs between 43.66 and 43.85, trading above that in the pre-market, gap to fill up to 44. I mean, if you've been short the stock, you've been riding it coming into earnings, I mean, why would you not take some profits here in case they come out with a good number? So
I guess it depends how long you've had it. If you had it the last month, you're sitting on losses, so all time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But looking at this, look at a possible breakout here in the Limited above 43.85, 43.90.
Overall market, we're just up $1.75 here. U.S. durable goods, we're down slightly there. They just reported, which gave us a little. We actually knocked down just a couple points, but we just got it back. So we're sitting here trending up to 14.94 and a half. Obviously, Joel's giving you some numbers here. That 1482 looks big to me, too. We need to hold that.
Right, but and I know that's kind of far away for our traders that are a little more active. They're saying, what the hell am I supposed to do? Get short and wait for that. But and you got the number. You just made a new high. 1497's been the high. Mentioned yesterday's high was 1497.75, and just the whole. I know we haven't mentioned a psychological level in a while, but 1500. I mean, come on, we've come from 660, in 2007, 2008. Now we're up at 1500. I mean, how many people were saying, man, if we ever get back to those old highs, I'm selling some stock. So I mean, we could be making a major top here. I'd like to see us get back over 1500 and hold. Coming on the downside, let's use that 1490. That Clovex low is an excellent support point, because under that, last two times we broke through 1490 in the day sessions, we've had a nice vacuum. down to the lower 1480s. So there's a little bit of a better outlook instead of giving you numbers that are 15, 20 points away.
Well, that's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading day, and we will be back with you tomorrow.